Welcome to a deep dive where we unpack a stack of sources about a blockchain project that, well, it sparks a lot of conversation. Cardano.
Yeah, quite a lot. We've gathered articles, research, dev updates, some community chats. It's a pretty rich collection to sift through.
Absolutely. And our mission today is really to cut through the noise, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, and give you a clear picture, basically where Cardano stands right now, mid-2025, and where the material suggests it might be headed.
Think of it as a shortcut to getting up to speed.
Exactly, your shortcut.
We'll touch on the core tech, the engine driving things forward. We'll look at its growing DeFi world, explore some genuinely fascinating real-world uses. We'll also dig into the governance side, how that's shaping up, and kind of set it all within the broader market context, the discussions happening there.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with foundation, right?
Yeah.
The engine room core technology and recent development milestones. What have the teams building Cardano been focused on, say, according to the latest reports from May 2025?
Right, well, the pace seems pretty steady. We're seeing key releases, like the Cardano node, version 10.4.1, and this version brings a feature they're calling UTXO HD.
UTXO HD. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds technical right off the bat. What's the core idea there? Why should you care?
That's a fair question. So, Cardano, like Bitcoin, uses the UTXO model for transactions, but UTXO HD is an enhancement. It's designed to handle the transaction data, specifically the unspent outputs, in a more flexible way, potentially more scalable as the network grows.
Oh,
Think of it like upgrading the ledger's filing system, making it more efficient for the future.
right, future proofing, improving the core infrastructure for growth. What else is happening under the hood?
The consensus team, they're focused on refining the core protocols. There are fixes related to Genesis, which is the network's starting point. And they're also advancing work on validating the Cardano blueprint using something like CDDL.
CDDL validation. What does that actually involve?
So CDDL is a data description language. Validating the blueprint with it is part of Cardano's really rigorous approach, using formal methods, basically using mathematical precision to specify and prove that the network's rules and data structures are solid, that they function exactly as intended.
High degree of assurance, then.
Exactly. It's about building with confidence.
That formal research-driven approach, that's always been a key differentiator, hasn't it?
It has.
What about the smart contract side, the Plutus teams?
There are also deep informal methods working on things like modular exponentiation testing, and there's a huge emphasis on scaling solutions. Reports mention simulations for Laos, one of their scaling initiatives, reaching 11,000 transactions per second
1,000 TPS.
in simulation.
Yeah, in simulation. But it shows the ambition. We're also seeing advancements with Mithril, specifically DMQ nodes, which focus on efficient data aggregation.
That 1,000 TPS number, even in simulation, definitely signals the scaling goals. How about for the average user? Any wallet updates or anything making smart contracts easier? On the wallet side, yeah. Lace, which is a popular browser wallet, they released version 1.22. This added Firefox support, so broader reach, and also included a beta integration with Bitcoin.
Oh, interesting. So you can see your Bitcoin in Lace.
Yeah, alongside your ADA and native tokens, just
Sorry.
in beta for now. And for smart contracts themselves, the teams are working on strictness analysis for UPLC and PIR. These are the low-level languages.
Okay.
It's like deep code analysis to ensure efficiency and security.
So constant drumbeat, technical refinement, infrastructure building, which brings us neatly to a fundamental piece of Cardano, native
Got it.
tokens, and this extended UTXO or EUTXO model.
Right?
This is where things get really interesting, I think.
It's pretty core. Unlike many account-based chains, where tokens often need smart contracts like Ethereum's ERC-20s, Cardano's design lets tokens be created and transferred natively on the ledger within that EUTXO framework.
So I don't need to run a complex smart contract just to send, say, a Project XYZ token to you.
Exactly. And the sources really highlight this. It leads directly to enhanced security and reduced transaction fees for users, specifically when handling these native tokens. Basic token operations just bypass that complex contract execution, which is often more expensive and, frankly, carries more potential risk if the contract isn't perfect.
Right, a foundational advantage for just moving tokens around.
Definitely.
And this foundational work, it ties directly into the overall long-term vision, doesn't it? Cardano was described as a proof-of-stake dApp platform built with that formal rigor.
Aiming for scalability, interoperability, sustainability.
Yeah.
The research-first approach, working with universities, experts, publishing academic papers, it's not just for show. It genuinely underpins the whole development process.
From research to prototyping to detailed technical specs.
Right, that whole pipeline.
The roadmap itself has been quite a journey. I saw Charles Hoskinson mention somewhere they initially hoped for maybe 5 years.
Yeah, something like that. Turned out closer to 11 or 12 years to get to this stage.
They structured it into distinct phases, though.
Yes, the eras. Byron, that was the federated start. Shelley for decentralization. Gauguin brought smart contracts. And now we're deep into Voltaire for governance and Basho for scaling. Those are the current big focuses.
And the vision isn't just building in a vacuum. It's about taking proven concepts from elsewhere and, well, evolving them.
Precisely. Hybridizing good ideas, taking the smart contract innovation, the DeFi, the future scaling like roll-ups from the Ethereum world, but also building on Bitcoin's robust UTXO model. Cardano's native assets are often seen as kind of the realization of that old color coins idea from Bitcoin's history, but done properly.
Hydra, their layer 2 scaling solution, that's another example of this evolution idea.
It is, yeah. Hydra took inspiration from Bitcoin's Lightning Network, sure, but it's designed as an isomorphic state channel system.
Isomorphic, meaning?
Simply put, it means the activities happening off-chain inside a Hydra head are designed to look and behave exactly like activities on the main chain. The goal is to make it easier to build applications, integrate with the existing system, and potentially handle things like real-world assets more smoothly off-chain.
Okay, so the core engine is constantly being tuned, scaled, refined. Let's shift gears from the mechanics to what's actually being built and used on the network.
Yeah.
How's Cardano's decentralized finance, its DeFi ecosystem, looking in mid-2025?
Well, the sources paint a picture of really rapid evolution. Since the Alonzo upgrade enabled smart contracts, the ecosystem has genuinely transformed. It's not just theoretical capability anymore. It's a functioning, growing financial network.
And we're seeing actual numbers to back that up.
Absolutely. There's been a substantial surge in activity. One report pointed to average daily DX trading volumes jumping, get this, 271% quarter over quarter in late 2024.
Wow, 271%.
Yeah. Hitting around $8.9 million daily. That kind of jump isn't just background noise. It signals real user adoption, real engagement on that financial layer. And total value locked, TVL, that's also seen a solid rebound, back into the hundreds of millions.
That leap in trading volume is a key indicator for sure. Who are the main players driving this? The DEXs.
Several key decentralized exchanges get highlighted consistently. MinSwap is often noted as the largest by trading volume and liquidity. It's known for being very community-centric. No VC funding, big emphasis on fair token distribution, offers low fees, yield farming.
The usual DeFi staples.
Right. And you can stake their MIN token for governance and earn AD rewards from trading fees, which is a nice little loop. Plus, it has that memorable cat and purr theme.
Okay, so MinSwap is kind of the current liquidity hub. Who else is prominent?
SundaySwap is another big name, one of the first DEXs publicized on Cardano, really famous early on. They definitely faced significant challenges initially with transaction concurrency, transactions getting stuck in queues.
Yeah, I remember the discussions around that.
But the key takeaway now is how they iterated. Their SundaySwap v3 update in 2024 was a major improvement in throughput. Testing showed it handling 35 transactions per second, and in real-world use, it processed over 9,000 orders in 24 hours, most completing in under a minute.
So they learned from the early struggles, engineered significant improvements. That's good to see. Any other interesting DX models popping up?
Yeah, there's Splash.trade, described as sort of next-gen using a hybrid approach. It combines the standard automated market maker, AMM pools, with something called a virtual limit order book, or VLOB.
VLOB.
Virtual limit order book. They use this framework called a temporal liquidity book, TLB, to aggregate liquidity efficiently. The focus is really on giving better tools to market makers and operating via a decentralized DAO for governance, trying to blend the ease of AMMs with the precision of traditional order books.
Interesting. And beyond just swapping tokens, what other types of DeFi are emerging on Cardano?
Oh, the ecosystem is definitely diversifying. We're seeing various stablecoins like DJED, which is algorithmic, USDA, USDM. There are synthetic assets like IUSD, lending protocols, Liquid and ADA are mentioned, and staking derivatives like fluid tokens. And we'll talk more about RealFi projects like Empowera in a moment too.
Right. And with multiple places to trade now, aggregators must be getting pretty important for finding the best price.
Exactly. DEX aggregators are key infrastructure. Dex Hunter is highlighted as the most popular one, processing a pretty hefty chunk of transactions, sourcing prices across different DXs. SteelSwap is also mentioned as an alternative, known for low fees. It just shows the ecosystem isn't only growing in size, but also in sophistication, more tools for users.
It's clear that financial layer is maturing fast, but Cardano's always aimed bigger than just DeFi, hasn't it? What are some of the tangible, real-world applications actually taking shape using Cardano in 2025?
Yeah, this is where the vision really starts to connect with actual impact. One really compelling area is fintech inclusion, especially in Africa. The sources emphasize this huge challenge, accessing traditional finance in informal economies. They give this stark statistic. Only 0.05% of households in Kenya have a formal mortgage.
0.005% compared to what, millions in the UK?
Exactly, over 11 million in the UK. The gap is just enormous.
So how is Cardano making a difference there?
Impawa in Mozambique is a prime example. They use Cardano for rent-to-own microfinance contracts for housing. Payments, property rights, all tracked immutably on the blockchain. The insight here is that by creating this transparent, verifiable record, they're helping families previously considered unbankable build a credit history and actually access larger assets like homes.
What kind of scale are we talking? Is this just a small pilot?
No, it's moved well beyond that. They're tracking $8.5 million worth of housing projects now, across 18 developers in 8 different African countries. The sources note over 20% of the value has already been repaid. And significantly, about half the beneficiaries are women, which highlights the social impacts side.
That's impressive.
And there's even this groundbreaking partnership mentioned with the Nairobi Securities Exchange, exploring tokenized financing for housing projects, potentially bringing institutional capital into this space via the blockchain.
Wow. That's a powerful example, using blockchain's core properties, transparency, immutability, to create entirely new financial pathways.
Yeah.
What about identity and education?
Ethiopia launched a major national initiative, issuing digital identifiers for millions of students and teachers using Cardano's Atala Prism system. The goal is tamper-proof academic records, making things smoother for admissions, job matching, accountability.
Right, I remember this being announced. Huge potential, potentially the world's largest blockchain deployment at the time. But it faced some hurdles.
It did, yeah. Reports mentioned delays attributed to civil conflict in the region and also technical integration complexities. These things aren't simple. However, the key point is the system is operational now and scaling. By the end of 2023, it reportedly covered 1 million students, and that scaling continues.
And students control their own data.
Exactly. They get a unique digital ID via a mobile app and control who gets access to their verified academic history. It lays the groundwork for a much broader, secure digital identity infrastructure.
Okay, so finance, housing, academic credentials, real people using the tech. Are there government or supply chain applications happening elsewhere?
Yes, in Georgia. There's a partnership with the Georgian government exploring blockchain for public programs, again using tamper-proof digital IDs. But a really significant focus there is on supply chain traceability, specifically combating counterfeiting.
Supply chain feels like such a natural fit for distributed ledgers.
It absolutely is. There was a pilot with Baez Wine back in 2021 using QR codes linked to Cardano to verify provenance, just proving where the wine came from. That's apparently expanded significantly now into a nationwide wine traceability system for Georgian wines. They're issuing digital certificates of authenticity on Cardano.
To protect Georgian wine from fakes, that's very specific, but I guess a globally relevant problem.
It really is. Counterfeiting is massive, costs trillions globally. So for Georgian winemakers, it protects their brand, their heritage. And for you, the consumer, it provides verifiable proof that the bottle you're buying is authentic from where it claims to be. Supports ethical supply chains, trust in origin.
Okay, so we've gone from the deep tech foundation through the growing financial layer to seeing actual adoption in really crucial real-world sectors. Finance, identity, supply chain. Let's pivot now to the governance side. That's a major focus as Cardano moves deeper into the Voltaire phase, right?
Absolutely. Decentralizing governance is core to the roadmap, getting towards full community control. And a significant step was the recent Q1 2025 committee elections, held by Intersect, which is the member-based organization set up to kind of bridge the gap towards fully decentralized governance.
What did those election results show? Any signs of participation?
The numbers provided are interesting. 522 members participated, which was about a 27% turnout among members at the time. There were 119 candidates running for 36 committee seats, and the results were audited. So it shows active engagement, at least in these initial formal governance structures.
Are there other governance things happening too?
Yes, definitely. There's been movement on the budgeting side. A Cardano budget proposal was submitted on-chain as an information actions specifically for DREP voting. DREPs are delegated representatives, and candidate registration is also open for the crucial Constitutional Committee. That's the body that will help define the foundational rules of governance going forward. Reports also mention an overall increase in DREP registrations and voter turnout stats, suggesting the community is, getting more ready for decentralized decision-making.
And the community isn't just participating in governance polls, right? They're actively building the ecosystem itself.
Oh, absolutely. The development reports are full of mentions. Community contributions, projects growing the ecosystem, everything from DeFi protocols like Flow DeFi, Trust Wallet enabling DREP delegation, updates from established players like Emergo and Liquid Labs, also developer tooling through the Tap Tools Cardano Builder DAO, new platforms launching like Meta Mainnet and Midgard Protocol, foundational libraries like Lucid Evolution. It's a lot.
A busy space. And the Cardano Foundation, what's their role in fostering all this?
They play a key role, yeah. Empowering the ecosystem through strategic partnerships is a big part of it. They're working with enterprise partners, names like Service Plan Group, Jacala, ScanTrust are mentioned to explore adoption avenues, and with implementation partners like Tokenance. Plus, they maintain those crucial collaborations with universities around the world. Zurich, UTM Buenos Aires, PUC Rio, fostering education and research, basically cultivating the next wave of developers and thinkers.
So it's this complex picture, isn't it? Technical teams, independent builders, formal governance structures taking shape, supportive foundations, all working towards expanding the ecosystem. Let's zoom out a bit now and try to place all this within the market context. Where does Cardano sit?
Well, looking at the market data points and the sources, Cardano seems to be holding steady around the NOPR 10 rank among cryptocurrencies by market cap.
Okay. And what does recent price movement look like? Any trends?
The price was noted around silver 49 cents recently. Trends showed some positive movement lately, a 14.22% increase over the last 7 days, 4.59% over the last month mentioned in one source. But of course, like any crypto asset, it's seen huge volatility historically, a very high all-time high and a very low all-time low.
Standard crypto story. We also saw some price predictions mentioned, like from Changelly. And it's crucial we remind everyone these are just estimations based on technical analysis, definitely not financial advice.
Absolutely critical point.
But what do those particular predictions suggest for Cardano in, say, 2025?
Changelly's analysis for 2025 forecasts a minimum price around 62 cents, a maximum maybe 0.75 cents, and an average trading price near $0.88. They also give much longer-term outlooks, like an average of $5.60 for 2030, and then really significantly higher figures, like $440 for 2040 and over $560 for 2050.
Okay, those long-term numbers are, well, they're projections of extreme potential, aren't they? Important to view those with a very healthy dose of skepticism given the time frame.
Extremely healthy skepticism, yes. Predicting that far out in crypto is ambitious.
How do other outlooks compare? Any other perspectives?
Wallet Investor was mentioned, also bullish, but maybe more tempered than those highest Changelly numbers. They predicted a price around $1 or 5 cents within the next year. Generally, the expert views cited acknowledge the challenges keeping pace, competition, but don't seem to widely predict an immediate downturn or anything.
And one fundamental aspect of Cardano's market picture is its fixed supply.
Yes, that's key. Cardano has a hard cap, a fixed total supply of 45 billion ADA. No more will ever be created. About 25.9 billion were sold initially, and the remaining roughly 19 billion are released over time as block rewards to people staking their ADA.
That fixed supply, that scarcity mechanism, it shares that with Bitcoin, often seen as important.
It is often highlighted, yeah.
Okay, let's zoom out one final time. Look at the broader landscape, some challenges being discussed around Cardano, including perspectives from figures like Charles Hoskinson.
Right. Hoskinson has commented quite a bit on the U.S. regulatory environment, for example, contrasting the current situation with the previous approach.
How is that shift described in the material we looked at?
Well, the perspective offered in the source is that the previous administration was seen as largely anti-crypto, using lawsuits, soft power to pressure the industry. The view presented is that the current environment seems to be moving away from that, working towards clearer legislation, maybe on stablecoins, maybe market structure bills. This is seen as potentially a positive step. Could provide certainty, reduce risks like, stablecoins imploding.
And just to be crystal clear, we're reporting this strictly as the viewpoint presented in the sources. We're not endorsing any political stance here.
Absolutely not. Just conveying what was discussed.
Okay. Beyond regulation, How do broader macro factors, global events, play into the crypto market and Cardano's position within it?
The sources definitely note that crypto isn't operating in a bubble. Things like economic restructuring, trade tariffs, geopolitical shifts, they create significant market uncertainty. And markets, generally, they really dislike uncertainty. This can easily translate into volatility across all assets, including crypto.
The idea of crypto as a safe harbor asset sometimes comes up during these uncertain times. What do the sources say about that?
It does come up, but the sources highlight the challenge in actually identifying which crypto assets, if any, truly fit that description. Bitcoin, for instance, is discussed in terms of potential physical vulnerability like could mining pools be seized? Proof-of-stake protocols like Cardano are seen as potentially more resilient in that specific way, but many have inflationary tokenomics, which might not be ideal for long-term value storage.
Right.
Cardano's fixed supply is often noted again here as a potential differentiating factor in that context.
There's also been community discussion, some speculation maybe, around the potential for the U.S. government to actually use Cardano, which brings up some very different viewpoints.
Yeah, this is a complex point raised in the source material. One argument suggests that Cardano, given its focus on security, formal methods, the auditability of EUTXO, could be a suitable, perhaps even optimal, platform for certain government use cases if implemented correctly. High assurance needs.
And the counter-arguments. What are the concerns raised?
Well, concerns include potential government desire for, central control over any technology they adopt, perceived conflict of interest issues if commercial entities are heavily involved, and just the huge hurdle of navigating the U.S. political process, getting congressional approval, which some believe would be extremely difficult.
It's noted other blockchains are lobbying too.
Exactly. And Charles Hoskinson has engaged with Congress on crypto topics before. The whole discussion reflects this tension between seeing the potential for adopting high assurance tech and deep concerns about central authority involvement.
And again, just reporting on these different viewpoints as they appear in the source material, not taking sides.
Correct.
Finally, one really forward-looking challenge mentioned is about the fundamental cryptography itself.
Yes, the long-term specter of quantum computing. The point is raised that future, powerful quantum computers could potentially break the current cryptographic methods used everywhere, including in blockchains. This isn't unique to Cardano at all. It's a huge future challenge for the entire digital security industry that research is only just starting to seriously tackle.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does it all mean? We've seen Cardano's technical engine is constantly being refined, features like UTXO HD aiming for scale, formal methods ensuring robustness.
Right, and its DeFi ecosystem isn't just theory anymore. It's a rapidly maturing landscape. Innovative platforms, significant growth in actual usage.
And maybe most compellingly, it's already powering tangible real-world applications, from microfinance and housing in Africa.
To verifiable identities in Ethiopia, supply chain traceability in Georgia.
Exactly. We've also touched on its evolving decentralized governance structures, which are really starting to take shape now, and the complex market and political backdrop it all operates within, including those interesting discussions around potential government adoption and future tech hurdles like quantum.
It's definitely a picture of a project that, despite a longer development timeline than maybe first envisioned, and the inherent bumps in implementing things in the real world, is demonstrating concrete progress, building tangible utility across multiple fronts.
Yeah, this whole journey involves navigating really deep technical challenges, fostering a vibrant and increasingly decentralized ecosystem around it.
Building those strategic partnerships for adoption.
And engaging with the, let's face it, messy realities of the global political and economic landscape.
It's a very dynamic state of play here in mid-2025.
Absolutely. So here's a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to consider. As Cardano continues to build out this infrastructure, these real-world use cases, how might its unique combination of academic rigor, that fixed monetary supply, and its deliberate path towards decentralized governance, how might that position it differently in the long term compared to other blockchain networks, especially as the broader market demands more than just a speculation and tangible utility becomes really paramount?
Something certainly worth pondering.